A screech of tires shattered the quiet afternoon. A black sports car suddenly swerved across the highway. The vehicle spun violently. Before slamming into the concrete barrier, people stopped and stared. No one dared move closer. Smoke was already pouring from beneath the hood. Then a man in a faded delivery uniform abandoned his motorcycle on the roadside and sprinted toward the wreck. He pounded on the shattered window. Inside, a young woman lay unconscious. Blood trickled down her forehead. The man never hesitated. He grabbed the damaged door and pulled. With all his strength, the metal groaned. The smoke grew thicker. At last, he managed to drag her free. Only moments later, a deafening explosion echoed across the highway. The car disappeared into flames. The woman slowly opened her eyes. For a brief second, she saw the silhouette of the man walking away, beside an old motorcycle. Then darkness claimed her once again. She had no idea that the stranger who saved her life would soon change her future forever. Part 1. The Worlds Apart Word Count. Target 800 words. The man's name was Ethan Carter. He was 37 years old, a hard-working single father. During the day, he delivered packages. In the evenings, he repaired appliances, fixed plumbing, and accepted any honest work he could find. Life had never been easy, but Ethan never complained. The center of his world was his daughter. A bright 9-year-old girl named Sophie. They lived in a small, rented apartment in an aging neighborhood. Every morning before sunrise, Ethan prepared breakfast. He packed Sophie's lunch, walked her to school, then began another exhausting day of work. Money was always tight. There were months when he skipped meals, so Sophie could have everything she needed. Still, he always greeted her with a smile, as if nothing in the world could burden him. Across the city lived a woman whose life could not have been more different. Her name was Evelyn Monroe, 33 years old, Chief Executive Officer of Monroe Innovations, one of the most successful technology companies in the country. Evelyn was known for her intelligence, her discipline, her ability to make difficult decisions without emotion. Thousands of employees answered to her. Major investors trusted her judgment. Yet despite all her success, she often felt alone. Her life revolved around meetings, contracts, and endless responsibilities. The accident changed something inside her. When she woke in the hospital, her father sat beside her bed. His name was Richard Monroe, founder of Monroe Innovations, a respected businessman nearing retirement. Evelyn looked at him. "Who saved me?" Richard sighed. "We do not know." "What do you mean he left before anyone could thank him?" Evelyn frowned for the first time in years. A stranger occupied her thoughts. Who would risk everything to save someone they did not know? Part 2. An unexpected connection. Word count target 900 words. Several weeks later, Richard Monroe was driving his favorite vintage car when it suddenly broke down on a lonely stretch of highway. Vehicle after vehicle passed. Nobody stopped. Then an old pickup truck pulled over. The driver stepped out. It was Ethan Carter. For nearly an hour, Ethan examined the engine. Eventually, the car roared back to life. Richard smiled with relief. "How much do I owe you?" Ethan shook his head. "Nothing." Richard stared at him. "Nothing. You looked like you needed help." That answer stayed with Richard. During their conversation, he learned about Sophie, about Ethan's struggles, about the quiet dignity with which he carried himself. Days later, Richard happened to review footage connected to Evelyn's accident. The moment he saw the rescuer's face, he froze. It was Ethan, the same man who had helped him, the same man who had saved his daughter's life. That evening, Richard visited Evelyn. When he revealed the truth, she sat speechless. "The mechanic was the man who saved me." Richard nodded. A smile appeared on his face. "You should meet him." Evelyn immediately rejected the idea. Her life was too busy, too complicated, too different from his. But curiosity had already taken root, and curiosity can be very difficult to ignore. Part 3. Watching from afar. Word count target 1,000 words. Instead of meeting Ethan immediately, Evelyn decided to learn more about him. Ah, what she discovered surprised her. Every report revealed another act of kindness. One day, he changed a tire for an elderly woman during a storm. Another day, he delivered groceries to a disabled neighbor without accepting payment. On another occasion, he helped a homeless veteran find shelter. None of these actions were recorded online. None earned him recognition. He simply helped. Because he believed it was the right thing to do. Evelyn found herself fascinated. Eventually, she began observing him personally. One afternoon, she parked near Sophie's school. She watched Ethan arrive after a long workday. The moment Sophie ran into his arms, his entire face transformed. Every trace of exhaustion disappeared. The smile he gave his daughter was genuine, pure, unconditional. It was unlike anything Evelyn had seen in her corporate world. There everything carried a price. Every favor expected something in return. But Ethan loved without conditions. That night, Evelyn could not stop thinking about him. For the first time in years, she envied someone whose bank account contained almost nothing. Part 4. A heart begins to change. Word count target 900 words. Richard the growing May. Interest in his daughter's eyes. Though Evelyn continued denying it, she kept learning more about Ethan. She discovered that Sophie loved painting, that Ethan often skipped lunch to buy art supplies, that he attended every school event. Regardless of how exhausted he felt, when Sophie became ill one week, Ethan missed work to stay beside her bed. Without revealing her identity, Evelyn arranged for a doctor to visit. When Sophie needed books for school, Evelyn quietly funded new educational programs. She never told anyone, not even Ethan, for reasons she could not explain. Helping them brought her peace. One evening, Sophie asked her father a question. "Dad, do you have a girlfriend?" Ethan nearly dropped his glass of water. No, you should get one. Why? So somebody can take care of you." Ethan laughed, yet an image flashed through his mind. Evelyn Monroe. He immediately pushed the thought away. Women like her belonged to another world. Part 5. The first meeting. Word count target 900 words. Several months later, Richard finally arranged a meeting, a charity gala, a room filled with wealthy executives and influential investors. Ethan felt completely out of place. The suit he wore was the only one he owned. Meanwhile, luxury surrounded him on every side. Then Evelyn approached for a moment. Neither spoke. "It is nice to finally meet you." "You, too." The conversation began awkwardly. Yet, as the evening continued, Evelyn noticed something unusual. Ethan never tried to impress her, never exaggerated his accomplishments, never treated her wealth as an opportunity. He was simply himself. And somehow that made him stand out, more than anyone else in the room. Not everyone welcomed his presence. Several guests mocked his occupation. Others whispered behind his back. Ethan heard every insult, but he remained calm. And, after the event, Evelyn asked him why. "Why do you never defend yourself?" Ethan looked toward the stars. "Because I know who I am." The answer struck her deeply. Most powerful people spent their lives proving themselves, yet Ethan needed no validation. Part 6. A growing bond. Word count target 1,000 words. Their paths began crossing more frequently, sometimes intentionally, sometimes by coincidence. Evelyn slowly became part of Sophie's life. The little girl adored her. One afternoon, Sophie suffered a minor injury at school. Evelyn happened to be nearby and rushed her to the hospital. When Ethan arrived, panic filled his eyes. The relief he felt upon seeing Sophie safe was overwhelming. Later, Sophie smiled at Evelyn. "I like you." Evelyn laughed softly. "Really? You remind me of the mothers in fairy tales." The room fell silent. Ethan lowered his gaze. Evelyn finally learned the truth. Sophie's mother had passed away years earlier, after a long illness. Since then, Ethan had carried every responsibility alone. That night, Evelyn cried, not because of pity, but because she finally understood the depth of his sacrifices. Part 7. The scandal. Word count target 900 words. Just as their relationship grew closer, trouble arrived. A corporate rival leaked photographs of Evelyn spending time with Ethan. The media exploded. Headlines appeared everywhere. Commentators mocked Ethan. They claimed he was chasing wealth. And investors questioned Evelyn's judgment. Board members demanded explanations. Pressure mounted from every direction. Ethan watched the chaos unfold. Then he made a painful decision. He began avoiding Evelyn when she confronted him. His expression remained calm. "You should focus on your future." Her eyes filled with hurt. "Is that really what you want?" Ethan could not answer, because the truth was far more complicated. He loved her, but he refused to become the reason her life suffered. As Evelyn walked away, both felt their hearts breaking. Part 8: The Hidden Hero Revealed. Word count target: 800 words. Weeks later, Richard Monroe organized a major press conference. Journalists filled the room. Cameras pointed toward the stage. Then Richard played the highway footage. The entire nation watched. They saw Ethan sprint toward the burning vehicle. They saw him risk his life. They saw him pull Evelyn from certain death. Silence swept across the room. Richard stepped forward. Many people said, "This man was not worthy of my daughter." He paused, but without him, she would not be alive today. Every eye turned toward Ethan. Richard continued, "This man taught me that character cannot be measured by wealth." The audience rose to their feet. Applause thundered through the hall. For the first time, the world saw Ethan Carter for who he truly was. A Hero Part 9. The Confession Word Count Target: 600 words. That evening, Evelyn visited Ethan's apartment. Sophie was asleep. The city lights glowed beyond the balcony. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Evelyn finally broke the silence. "You saved my life," Ethan smiled gently. "I only did what anyone should do." "No," she shook her head. You always do what is right." Her voice trembled. Then she said the words she had never spoken before. "I love you." Ethan stared at her. She continued, "Not because you saved me. Not because my father admires you. I love the man you are." Tears filled her eyes. For several seconds, Ethan said nothing. Then he smiled. "I love you too." And for the first time in many years, both felt completely at peace. Part 10: A New Beginning. Word count target: 600 words. 1 year later, a small wedding brought together family and friends. Richard Monroe was the happiest man there. Sophie wore a beautiful dress and smiled from ear to ear. When the ceremony ended, she approached Evelyn. "Can I call you Mom now?" Evelyn immediately knelt beside her. Tears streamed down her face. "That would be the greatest gift you could ever give me." Sophie wrapped her arms around her. Ethan watched quietly. The two people he loved most stood together before him. For years he had believed life was only about survival, working harder, sacrificing more, enduring another difficult day. But now he understood something important. Kindness never disappears. Good deeds may go unnoticed for a time, yet they leave footprints in the hearts of others. As the sun slowly set beyond the horizon, Ethan, Evelyn, and Sophie walked forward together, not as strangers from different worlds, not as people divided by wealth or status, but as a family bound together by love, by sacrifice, by humility, and by the simple truth that the strongest people are often the ones society overlooks. Their future remained unwritten, but for the first time they would face it together.